Rated PG-13.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs? Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Do you remember sneaking into the theater to watch R-rated movies?
No.
No, you never snuck in? You never like paid for something PG-13 and then walked into an R-rated?
Yeah, we did. I don't remember what movies though.
No?
Uh-uh.
Oh, man. It's I remember it was called Star World 20 at the time, this theater we used to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to get in for free, but we would have to get a ticket. So we would get our tickets, right? But we, even though we were getting in for free, we still couldn't go see the R-rated movies.
Right.
Because one of our older friends worked there. But so we would get a ticket for like a PG-13 or a G-rated movie and then sneak into an R-rated one.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people did this, but like I remember there was this one guy who used to work there that we used to call the theater Nazi.
Yeah.
And he would literally watch for this. This was I swear this was his entire job.
It probably was.
And so like he would like fucking follow you to make sure you went into the G-rated movies. So it was like a fucking episode of Mission Impossible to get into an R-rated film around this motherfucker. Like you would dip out of the G-rated movie, have somebody look down the hallways, right? And if they saw him, you have to dip back in. So what we would do is we would run across to the bathroom, right? Like, we're going to the bathroom. You can't tell us not to go to the bathroom. So we'd go there. And sometimes you could get past him that way. He'd just walk down the hallway and then walk back. Sometimes this fucker like would get a wild hair up his ass and would follow you.
Oh, of course.
Stand outside the bathroom and wait.
Oh, yeah.
And you couldn't outwait this guy. Your movie would be over by the time you would get it.
Right.
But I was just thinking about that, and it's just such an assholey thing to do. Like,
well, we used to, when I worked at the movie theater, watch for kids that left the R-rated movies.
Oh, really?
And I never did, but some of the managers would talk to them and be like, you can't do that. If I see you do that again, I can kick you out of the theater, blah, blah, blah.
It's just so weird, though. It's like,
but the worst thing that ever happened was there's two 13-year-old girls, and they got drunk at the theater and pissed on the floor.
See, I think that's a much worse thing than just somebody seeing some boobs.
Yes.
Anyway, today on Night of the Horror File, which, okay, hang on, I didn't even do the intro right again. I've been slipping on these fucking intros, but welcome to Night of the Horror File, a podcast where I take a horror movie, usually, and have my wife, Brittany, watch it. And she gives us, we both usually have differing opinions on these things, and we just go back and forth, and it's a celebration of horror. Today, though, we're taking a casual horror break. We do this from time to time, when our workload's a little high and stuff. And usually we do this right before we do an epic episode on a movie, and we'll talk about what movie we're doing next week.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. But this week we are talking PG-13 horror.
Ooh, spooky.
Ooh, spooky. And the ratings in general. We're going to discuss some movie ratings today. The MPAA, which I keep cursing them on our usual episodes. And we'll discuss kind of why and how, I think what you will take away from this episode is that you shouldn't judge a film on its rating. I think we all tend to do that. We all tend to do that. Like PG-13 horror is the biggest one you'll hear about.
Right.
Most of the time with other movies, like your superhero movies, it's usually like, why aren't they rated R? It's the opposite. You get the opposite effect. But horror is the one genre that seems you just have a collective group of people that don't accept that horror can be rated whatever and still be effective.
I agree.
And and today we're going to kind of discuss that. So, the dreaded rating system. You know about the rating system. Everybody knows about the rating system.
Right.
I'm not really going to go too deep into what each rating means and stuff like that. But we are going to discuss the general idea. You know?
Right. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of figure it out. But the dreaded rating system, or at least dreaded if you are a filmmaker. You know, in past episodes, we've talked about how films have been like sent and resent through the grinder that is the MPAA rating board. We get movies with green blood, movies trimmed so much that it's a wonder why they aren't PG instead of R. Like your Friday the 13th. Many of those movies have been trimmed to shit. Only recently resurfacing, I think one of them has some of the uncut gore. And the first one got an uncut edition and stuff, which we covered that on one of our early episodes.
Right.
But of course, a weird lack of sex in these too. Like you'll get that, a weird lack of sex in some of these. Sex is a big topic of today's episode. We're going to discuss that because weirdly, that's what our rating system kind of focuses on.
That's not really weird.
True. It is America. Sex is a dirty thing.
Right.
But it kind of makes you believe that Americans don't have sex and don't change clothes ever. I mean,
don't change clothes.
Yeah. When's in a PG-13 movie, you ever see anybody changing clothes or get naked? Never. There's no showers. Yeah.
Physically changing clothes. I was like, they wear the same clothes the whole movie?
Well, sometimes. I mean, it depends on the movie.
Well, I get that, but you were talking about changing clothes on screen.
Yeah. So first, before we get started with the conversation, let's do a brief rundown of what and how and who is the shadowy organization that filters what we see. The Motion Picture Association Ratings Board. Instituted back in the year of 1968, not long after it was determined that the Hays Code and stuff like that was kind of not helping. Ratings were developed and slapped on any movie hoping to get widely released in the States. The intention was to help parents decide what their children could see. Similar I can't pronounce words today. Similar to the lovely parental guidance sticker slapped on some of my favorite albums.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, sometimes, and in horror in general, like we discussed, that R rating is a badge of honor.
Oh, really?
Same with some of these albums and stuff. You know, that the original intention was to kind of, I see ratings as censorship, but you know, that's a whole other episode.
So my first experience with not necessarily ratings, because I didn't watch a lot of movies, obviously. But my first experience with censorship was I was in 7th grade. I had to think about it for a second. No, 6th grade. I dated this boy. It was my first Valentine's to have a boyfriend.
Really?
And he asked me what I wanted for Valentine's Day. And I wanted Eminem's CD, and I don't even remember which one it was, but I wanted it to be unrated because I knew that they had unrated and rated CDs or whatever, and I wanted the unrated one. Well, we were like 12, so that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
So he ended up getting me the regular one that was censored. And I got grounded for 3 weeks for receiving
the uncensored one,
yeah.
Or the censored one. I'm
yes,
sorry. Yeah, that was a thing. And Walmart still, I think. Well, I don't know. Does Walmart sell CDs anymore?
I have no idea.
I haven't really looked for CDs in like decades. But like, Walmart was the biggest aggregator of that. Like, they would carry nothing but the censored versions, the cut versions of your favorite albums. In fact, I believe Green Day, that was one of the reasons you couldn't get Green Day CDs at Walmart for the longest time, because they decided, no, we're not going to release a separate album, because that's what would have to happen. You would have to have a separate printing of these albums with the bleeps and the bloops in there.
Bleep bloop.
I bought, when I was younger, I got into rap for a little bit thanks to my brother-in-law. And I bought a rap album from Walmart, and it was the worst thing ever. They didn't even put like other words or like a bleep in there. All it was just dead silence.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway, But the Motion Picture Association, the ratings are really easy to see. You know, they're black and white and stuff, and they're pasted everywhere. And they even rate our trailers. You know, that's where you'll hear me talk about. Ooh, there's a red band trailer out. That's the R. That's like an R-rated trailer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's red band, green band. I believe there's a blue band trailer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Like,
I didn't know that.
Everything we see is run through the ratings board.
I didn't even know that the trailers even.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because they control a lot of stuff, and we'll get into the weird aspects of this whole situation. But you have, let's just talk about some of the ratings here. You have G, which is the general audiences, meaning all ages and nothing that would offend parents for viewing by children. You know, like your SpongeBob movie or any Disney movie. Those are always rated G. Well, not nowadays, but but you get the idea. PG, meaning parental guidance suggested, meaning parents may want to sit down with little Timmy and guide him through the soft violence and themes. Usually PG movies aren't loaded with a lot of gore or anything like that. There's not a ton of violence, but there may be suggestible themes like tobacco use.
Oh my goodness.
Dear
tobacco
Lord.
use.
Oh no. And nowadays, you wouldn't even know people smoke still by watching some of these movies. But anyway, and then you have PG-13, which we will truly center on today in a bit. But so I'll skip past that. But then you have R for restricted. Your big gory movies and stuff are usually going to have an R rating. Your Friday the 13th and anything that wants a wide release is going to have an R rating. And I say wide release because once you cross over to NC-17 territory, that's where things get muddled, and you're probably never going to – no theaters are probably going to carry your NC-17 movie. Your only guiding light there is going to be straight to video or straight to streaming nowadays. Sorry.
Straight to streaming, yeah.
There's no straight to video anymore. But then, you had X ratings. Those also existed to a point, but they were mostly self-applied with porno and stuff and the likes, because the MPA never really trademarked the X rating. It was just kind of given, it was allowed. You could throw an X onto your movie. In fact, any person not submitting a film to the ratings board was, and I believe still is, allowed. Well, no, it's the NC-17 rating now, but they were allowed to apply an X rating. They could just throw that on themselves.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, NC-17 would be the rating applied later, which was basically an X rating, which we'll kind of discuss why that's kind of muddled too. I believe NC-17 should be its own thing away from X, but it gets lumped in and it's called the kiss of death when it comes to film distribution.
Really?
Yeah, we'll kind of talk about that.
It kills it, huh?
Oh, it kills it dead.
Dead.
When was the last time you saw an NC-17 movie in a theater? Never.
Never.
Never, ever. All right.
I don't even know if I've seen an NC-17 movie in life.
Oh, yeah. Most of your NC-17 movies are going to be unrated. You'll see.
Oh, okay. It's the same
You'll
thing.
see something unrated or something, or, streaming has given is a godsend to some of these movies, and you don't have to submit it to the MPAA most of the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like a lot of indie filmmakers can find distribution with Amazon, even though they kind of rob you there. I mean, you might want to do something different. But
I agree.
But most of the time, hell, you can self-publish a movie now. It's not hard.
Really?
Yeah. I did a review recently on Psycho Ape, which is, I love that movie. Addison Benek, he self-publishes his own movie. He sells it on eBay and everything. You go buy it. It's fine.
Nice.
But is everyone with me so far on the ratings? It gets a little confusing if you go too technical with it.
I mean, I'm here, I think.
Yeah. Any questions on the scales or anything like that?
No.
No, not yet. Okay, cool. We're going to get to some discussion here in a little bit. Things are going to get a little richer here.
I'm sorry, I just don't have any questions yet.
That's okay. How dare you? How dare you?
But you're looking at me like,
Hey, why don't you join the conversation?
I'm a little out of it. I'm
I
a
know.
little loopy.
Brittany has a cold like a motherfucker today, so if she sounds a little off, that's the reason why.
And I just got off of a 12-hour shift.
Yeah, so she's just like,
I am. I'm a little dead.
yeah.
Then 9 hours tomorrow.
Oh, dear God. Anyway, now so the history behind all this and those ratings I listed actually didn't come into effect. Like that slate of ratings didn't come into effect until the whole thing was retooled in the 70s to include G, PG, and R. Now, if your head is spinning, I'm sorry, but bear with me because this is going somewhere. Now, it was in the 1980s when a new rating was needed, something to go between PG and restricted. You'd have a lot of films rated PG at the time that actually pushed the boundaries a little too close for comfort for theaters and old grannies on the rating board.
Oh, you saw half a nipple.
Oh, dear Lord. But you'd have films like Jaws, that whole quid eating scene. Jaws is rated PG.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Raiders of the Lost Ark, which has someone getting shot in the fucking head in one scene.
Oh, dang.
So, and it's only the one scene that's super violent like that. Although, you do see a guy stabbed onto some spikes. Why was Raiders of the Lost Ark only rated PG? I'll never know.
Because they didn't have anything else.
Exactly. There you go. So you're buying me here. So a new rating was implemented that was PG-13, and forever certain horror fans and movie fans alike would have something to bitch about from then on out. It was actually a funny story. It was actually Steven Spielberg who suggested it because he didn't make R-rated movies. That's not what Steven Spielberg does.
Right.
And but PG was a little too tame for his movies.
Right.
They're a little bit action packed and they have a lot of themes. I mean, E.T. rated PG has E.T. getting drunk. There you go. So before we really get into if a horror film in specific loses its merit when PG-13 is applied to it, let's talk about how a movie is rated. Now, the MPAA it really doesn't clearly outline how they do these things, how these people come to the decision. What is known is it's usually a board of parents. I believe you have to have children to be on the board, and they view these movies and vote on a rating, and that's their sole job in life.
Oh, can I do that?
I don't know, because you never know the actual process. Like, these are very secretive. We don't even know who's on the board.
Well,
you don't get to know. Which kind of, I guess, is cool, but at the same time, it's also kind of shady when we start talking about some of the things. So let's go through the few things that kind of might get you an R or a PG-13 or stuff like that. So violence, first off. Violence, depiction of violence are permitted under all ratings, but must be moderated for the lower ones. Violence must be kept to a minimum in G-rated films, so not too much violence. Cartoon violence gets you a G to a point,
Right.
And it must not be too intense for PG-rated films, so you gotta skirt this weird ass line there.
Right.
Do you see the problem?
But we don't know what the line is.
Yeah, you're already seeing the problem. Depictions of intense violence are permitted under PG-13 ratings, but violence that is both realistic and extreme or persistent will generally require at least an R rating. So you don't really have a handle on it. It's like, okay, did I show Bugs Bunny getting punched in the face too many times? I don't know. And it's easy to kind of give an example here. I mean, a PG-13 movie would have been like Terminator 2,
Yeah.
Is that rated PG-13 or is there? Oh, fuck. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, sure.
I have no idea.
Have you seen Terminator 2?
No.
Oh, my God. Oh, my. Okay.
No.
Okay, I know a future episode.
No.
We'll do a sci-fi month. Anyway.
No.
Brittany hates sci-fi. It's going to be so much fun. So language. That's right. The fucks, the cunts, the bitches, the shits, the dams in some cases. Language snippets. And I'm reading this from the Wikipedia of the NBA. So enjoy this. Now, snippets of language that go beyond polite conversation are permitted in G-rated films. Like what defines polite conversation? hello, George. Like,
Yeah. Not
that's
what
polite.
up, cunt?
I don't know. I don't think Boss Baby should have been G-rated. That should have been a PG-13 because he's telling that kid to suck it in that movie. Anyway,
He's talking
Suck it.
about.
still, it's Alec Baldwin saying "suck it, suck it, suck it."
It's just. It skirts that line.
But profanity may be present in PG-rated films and use of one of the harsher sexually derived words as an expletive. I can't read. But anyway, so basically, use of the word "fuck" or "shit" might get you a one time. You get one time,
Oh shit.
and you get into the PG-13 rating.
Oh shit.
Yeah, multiple occurrences. So if I say "fuck" twice,
Oh.
or
shit.
"fuck" and "shit,"
Oh shit.
or that shit isn't really necessarily sexually. Well, it could be. I don't know how they do this, but if I use multiples, then we're going into R rating.
Oh no. Are we unrated?
Oh, we're explicit. We're rated
We're
explicit. On here. I like to say it's E for edutainment. No, but anyway,
Did you just say edutainment?
edutainment. We're educational and we're entertaining.
Edutainment.
Edutainment.
I've never heard you say that before.
No, never. Anyway. But yeah, you get the R rating for double fucks, or a damn and a fuck probably. Nevertheless, the ratings board may still award a PG-13 rating passed by 2/3 majority if they believe the language is justified by the context or by the manner in which the words are used.
Okay, so if I stub my toe 6 times and I say fuck 6 times, is that justified?
That gets you an R rating.
Damn it.
Yeah, that's too many.
Damn it.
But you may still get a PG-13 if you might say fuck, whereas it's a reaction. That's fine.
That's what it is, a reaction. I stubbed my
but
toe.
you said it 6 times. That's crossing the territory.
Okay, so 2 times.
Do you see the problem
3
here?
times.
Do you see the problem here, though, so far? They're like, no, nobody says fuck that many times.
Yes, they fucking do.
It's like, yes, every other word on the show. Okay, so there are several exceptional cases in which PG-13 rated films contain multiple occurrences of the word fuck. So we're getting into it. Adventures in Babysitting, where the word is used twice in the same scene. Oh, that's a naughty movie. It's funny because that movie's rated PG-13, but one of the kids has a Playboy through that entire thing. But anyway, the Hip Hop Project, which has 17 uses, and it's rated PG-13.
Oh, see, I can say it 6 times.
Yes. Gunner Palace, a documentary of soldiers in the Second Gulf War, has 42 uses of the word, with 2 used sexually.
Oh,
Naughty. But it's rated PG-13. I hope everyone's kind of getting the...
I get you.
What the fuck? And Philomenia, which has 2 instances of the word released in 2013, were originally given R ratings on grounds of language, but the ratings were dropped to PG-13 after successful appeals. So you can't appeal these, but we'll get into what they will not hear from you on appeal. In U.S. films, rated PG and PG-13, teenage characters use more stronger profanity than the adult characters in the same movies. However, the overall amount of such language has declined somewhat since the 1980s. That's just a little fun fact they snippled in there.
Snippled?
Snippled?
You're just saying all kinds of weird
I
words
am a
tonight.
wordsmith tonight.
I feel it. I don't know. Do I have a fever dream going on here? Or something?
Maybe.
Oh. I just got freaked the fuck out.
What?
Because you didn't tell me you put your I Spit on Your Grave poster up.
You just saw like a naked
and
lady.
I just looked over and I was like, what the fuck is that?
There's an ass on the wall.
No, I just got like flashbacks of like PTSD from this fucking movie, man.
Oh, yeah, that movie. We're going to have to do a redo of that, I feel like, because it's so old and that episode sucks.
I don't know.
But it's such a good episode. Anyway, back onto this. So now we're into substances. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun.
Drug use content is restricted to PG-13 and above. So you're not going to have a movie rated PG or G that's going to have some drug content, which, that makes sense.
I understand that, yeah.
An example of an otherwise PG film being assigned a PG-13 rating for a drug reference momentarily along with brief language is Whale Rider. I've never seen this movie. But the film contained only mild profanity, but was rated PG-13 because of a scene where drug paraphernalia was briefly seen.
A bong.
Yeah, there's probably a bong in the background. In fact, Roger Ebert actually criticized the MPAA for rating that thing and called it a wild overreaction. So I kind of agree.
Oh, probably.
I love to hate Roger Ebert. I love the guy, I respect him and stuff, but a lot of his opinions on horror movies, I love the battle and stuff. But I do agree with his criticisms on the MPAA. I agree with that. Now, in 2007, that's where we got cigarette smoking was going to be considered in a film's rating. Anti-smoking advocates stated that the child-friendly PG rating was inappropriate for 2011's Nickelodeon animated film Rango, which included over 60 depictions of characters smoking.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't understand how smoking's going to,
Well, okay, if you remember, do you remember back in the day, probably 2007, probably a little bit before, when all of the restaurants went from having smoking sections to non-smoking?
Yeah.
It was about that time. So I bet since it was such a big deal, like all over, they were like, oh, we got to include this in our movies too.
I suppose. I don't know how I feel. Like I said, I'm kind of on the skirt about smoking. I do agree that like maybe showing cartoon characters smoking is probably not cool. But like at the same time, I don't know, man. Everybody's going to see somebody smoke at some point. What are we doing here? But anyway, so nudity. That's right, titties. And ass, titties, and ass. Anyway, nudity is obviously restricted to PG and above. Now, I kind of disagree because I haven't seen a PG movie with nudity in it since the 70s. And anything that constitutes more than brief nudity will require at least a PG-13 rating. Again, I don't know because I haven't seen very many PG-13 movies with boobs. I feel like that's more than brief nudity, right?
I don't know.
Maybe we're talking butts, though. I feel like we're talking butts at this point.
I don't know.
I bet a butt gets you a PG-13 because I think one of the diehards has a butt in it. And anyway, but nudity that is sexually oriented. In fact, you putting those boobies and genitals to good use will require a R rating. As of 2010, the MPAA has added a descriptor of male nudity to films featuring said content. So if you're looking for dongs, look for that male nudity sticker. Which is, again, anyway, I don't know why we have to distinguish nudity from, hey, there's penises. Anyway, obviously, and then you have sex, which it doesn't have. Here's the thing about sex in the MPAA. In fact, on their Wikipedia, it kind of sums it up because the little snippet they have here is the MPAA does not have an explicit criteria for sexual content other than excluding sex scenes from G-rated films. They leave the sexual content very vague, and I believe there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that as we go. So
we watched a rated R movie in school?
Yeah, probably. It probably got an R rating because of like.
Okay, so you were talking about butts, and you were like, you said if it's got butts in it, it probably is rated R. And it made me think of the movie Troy. We watched Troy in school.
Yeah.
And all I remember from that movie is Brad Pitt's butt. And seeing Brad Pitt's butt. And I was like, they would not show us a rated R movie at school. And I just looked it up, and it is rated R.
Yes, it's rated R mostly for the butt.
It says for some sexuality / nudity.
Yeah. So that butt got them an R rating. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's almost as if like, oh man, Brad Pitt's butt is just too sexual. It's just too sexual in this movie. We can't show this to the regular audiences.
But we got to watch it at school.
Exactly. Now, I think what you're going to notice, and it's something Roger Ebert noticed as well, is the system goes a lot harder on sex than violence, especially in America. In fact, some good movies were even getting slapped with the NC-17 rating, which in distribution, as I said, is a kiss of death onto your movie. That you're not going to get any theaters carrying your NC-17 movie.
Right.
Which, again, bad. Especially bad at the time of this movie we're going to talk about in a second. But
wait, I have a question.
Okay, question.
I'm sorry.
Question. That's okay. You get to
I'm gonna
interrupt me
you.
during these.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this. This is stupid now that I say that. Anyway, what I was thinking was, would you see a movie that is NC-17 in a grindhouse? And I know the answer is yes.
Most of your
don't know
grindhouse
why I
theaters, they didn't even bother with ratings.
Right. I don't know why I even asked that.
Yeah.
We talked about this.
Yeah,
Oh, man, my brain.
You're fine. You're fine. But, Ebert took notice on this and really urged for a different rating that separated just porno and films that had a bit more sex for comfort. Ebert argued that focusing on the amount of profanity, sexual themes, and then not focusing on the general theme of the film hurts a film's availability to be seen. And I agree with him. Basically, what that means is, if you're just focusing on the content and not the overall content, like you're focusing on the word fuck. Well, what's like it's just
what's in the context of them saying fuck, and stuff like that.
Or what's the contents of sex, in a movie. For example, if a movie is heavy with sexual themes but carries an important lesson on said themes, then why should it be slapped with an NC-17 rating, basically rendering it unseeable? Ebert also said the system does focus too much on sex, but allows for tons of violence. Ebert wasn't a huge fan of violence. As we've talked about in past episodes. And it's true, though. If your film has no curse words, barely any on-screen blood, and no sex, then you were more than likely going to receive a PG-13 over an R. And if you wanted to add all that blood and a couple of curse words, then you were still more likely to receive an R over an NC-17.
Oh, wow.
In fact, if you really think about it, it's very, very odd. When you really get into it. Like, here's an example. Let's look at the incredible film Boys Don't Cry, starring Hilary Swank. I believe she won an Oscar for that. The board was completely fine with someone seen getting beaten and brutally raped, then going on to have their head blown off at the end of the movie. But the hang-up that got Boys Don't Cry stamped with an NC-17 initially was a love scene between Swank and Chloe Sevigny.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
So we can show the rape, but we can't show the consensual sex.
Yes, and this scene, I've seen the extended scene, it's not even that dirty. You don't see barely any nudity. But the scene in the original cut, it's actually extended, Now, that scene is in the released version, the R-rated version, but it's shortened. But anyway.
So America likes... Oh, this makes me so mad.
You can get as much blood and violence as you want, but sex is a nay-nay.
Consensual sex.
Consensual sex, in fact. You can see as many rape scenes as you want, but lengthy consensual sex scenes? Oh, man. You're crossing the territory. But in this scene, though, Hilary Swank's character is giving Savini's character an orgasm by way of oral sex. But the scene is all it does is focus on Savini reactions, her face and stuff to what's going on. And you do see Hilary Swank's character go down and then raise back up and then wipe her mouth. And that was too much. The MPA said the concern was the length of the orgasm was much too graphic.
Oh, my God.
Because sure, raping a person is fine, but if they enjoy it, also help me God.
Oh.
And that brings up a whole other problem I think you were getting to as to Hollywood's bias on gender and homophobia relating to sex scenes.
Right.
If a man is enjoying himself in the scene, hey, cool.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, yeah. But dear Lord, that woman enjoying that sex? That's not cool. In fact, on the whole opposite spectrum of the whole gender thing, the film Swordfish, Hugh Jackman's character has to hack into a computer while getting a blowjob.
Oh, shit.
All you do is see his face in that scene. You see her go down. You know what's happening, but it still retained an R and enjoyed a regular R cut. So what the fuck? You might be asking yourself that.
Always.
What the fuck? Yeah. And now, of course, if movies like that are deemed trash. The rating board always comes down harder on indie films. That's just a well-known.
That's very rude.
It's very rude. In fact, I Spit on Your Grave. They had Miyazaki. He actually released that movie saying it was R-rated, and the MPAA did not give him consent to do that. And they got into a big old lawsuits and stuff like that. But technically, that movie doesn't contain much else really than some of these other brutal rape scenes you see in these other movies that are rated R.
Right.
So like I said, what the fuck? You're seeing with these ratings and stuff like that, you're seeing a really weird bias. You can see as much of a dude enjoying a blowjob as you want, but as soon as a woman starts enjoying sex and taking power and stuff, that's when things get a little weird. Plus,
oh yeah,
homophobia is rampant in Hollywood movies. I mean, that's a thing. It's weird to watch a movie where they clearly made these characters as lesbians or gay or what have you, but they're afraid to have them actually do that and it be natural.
Right.
It's very weird.
Ugh.
Now, the director, Kimberly Pierce, lobbied super hard to get that scene included in full, but sadly, she was forced to trim it down in order to secure that R rating and a wider audience.
Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun, dun. So, let's move on to what we've all been waiting for. Horror movies. Yes, a horror movie with an R rating is sure to include your gore, your nudity, and lots of head cutting and what have you. But
hell yeah.
Does that necessarily make it scary?
Not necessarily.
Right. Can we honestly say a horror movie is scarier with an R rating?
No.
To really tackle that, let's kind of discuss what's scary. So, yeah, some of these movies that are just over the top gore are just meant to be fun. They're not really trying to scare you. But we're really going to kind of talk about if it affects the horror in whole.
Right.
So I got to ask you this, what scares you most in a horror film or in real life for that matter?
What scares me in a horror movie?
Yeah. Or just in real life. What do you find scary? Real scary?
I don't know.
Really?
A lot of things for real life scare me, but not like a horror movie. I don't know. I don't know what you're saying.
Well, think back on past episodes. What was the scariest movie?
I'm gonna have to say the more probable that something could actually that could actually happen.
So real horror, American Psycho or something like that. Are you scared of serial killers, or has that been so desensitized by podcasts?
So desensitized.
So real life horrors is what more freaks you
I
out.
Spit on Your Grave. Because,
yeah.
I mean, essentially, you could get raped and I don't know, have to kill somebody because they won't stop raping you.
Right. Okay. So real life horrors, not the made up boogeyman or the supernatural. More of the neighbor down the street, or the movie Psycho. The friendly Norman Bates who hides a monster behind closed doors.
Exactly.
So those kind of things scare you. I get that. Does that necessarily have to be rated PG-13?
No.
You know what I mean? Does it have to be rated R?
No.
To really get into you?
No.
I don't think. Hell, a Psycho, and that was before this was all instituted. Well, kind of before, but I can't really remember if it was rated R or rated PG-13 at this point. But Psycho really doesn't have a lot of blood. It doesn't have a lot of gore. There's that shower scene where you see the blood going down the drain, but I mean, really, it's not in your face gore, over the top violence. So and you think about that movie, it's scary in the mood and stuff, and it's more scary to you and the story,
right,
and stuff. So horror really is subjective.
Oh, for sure.
It's very subjective. It all depends on what frights you. Me, I don't know. I think I've seen so many of these. I don't know what truly scares me anymore.
Right.
But there are instances that do freak me out in horror movies still to this day. So with all this horror in mind, it would be safe to assume that a horror film could focus on just the basic elements and still be scary to you.
Yes.
Right. The Ring. You know, I believe you said you've seen The Ring.
Yes, I have.
And that was rated PG-13. And it's a movie that honestly scared the crap out of me when I first saw it.
Yeah, me too.
Do you remember when you first saw The Ring?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes. Did I see it in theater? I don't remember the very first time I saw it, but I saw it a lot because I watched that movie quite a lot. I've probably watched it upwards of 30 times.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually really
I have a
interesting.
problem because when I like a movie, I like a movie.
So yeah, like, and I have to argue that, like, you know, it's a PG-13 rated horror movie, and I'll have to argue that its monster Samara is as popular for some fans as Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and I'm not just talking about jump scares. The Conjuring, which is a juggernaut in the horror genre, is rated PG-13, but I think that one relies a little too heavy on the jump scares. You know, it does have some dread in it, but not as much as James Wan's other movie that we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, it relies like way too heavily on the jump scares. Anyone can craft a jump scare, in my opinion, and upon second or third viewing of these kind of movies, that initial fear is kind of gone.
Oh, for sure.
You know it's coming. You know, it's like riding a roller coaster.
I give a movie 1 or 2 jump scares, but if it fits in more of those jump scares, more than like 1 or 2, then I'm just like annoyed. Like, okay,
well, like in
you're trying too hard.
Yeah, like in The Conjuring, at some point you're just expecting jump scares the entire time.
Yeah,
so your neck starts getting worn out because you're
like
tensing
tense,
up.
Yeah.
But what I tend to offer in examples of good PG-13 horror are the ones that kind of get under your skin and really drop your stomach into that zone we call dread.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We watched one last night.
Exactly.
Are we going to get to that, or?
No, we're probably not going to cover that. That's more of a thriller. Well, no, I don't even like to use the word thriller. It's a horror movie.
Well, when I looked it up, it was horror.
That's Escape Room, which got a lot of shit, but I actually enjoyed that movie.
I liked it too.
Yeah, it was.
I
really
like
good.
movies that are suspenseful like that.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Oh, me too.
And and that one creates that sense of dread and stuff in you, and it really kind of freaks you out because, like, that's putting a bunch of characters into a scenario where all of a sudden it's real. And everybody can go join an escape room, but what happens if you join one and all this stuff is real and you could actually die? You know, the stakes go up.
Right.
It's kind of fun. But let's look at Jaws for a minute.
Oh,
and I know you haven't seen Jaws.
No.
But in that film, the terrors come from our lack of understanding of what the ocean holds. You know that. Well, you might know that fear, but like, have you ever been in the ocean?
I was very little.
Okay. Well, I went to the beach and stuff, and you're in the ocean and stuff like that, and you really don't know what's down there.
Right.
Like, that's that fear that Jaws plays on. It's the fear of, well, what happens if something down there is wanting to eat me? Like,
it's kind of like when you go to the lake and you don't know if you're going to step on sunglasses or a dead meth head.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We live in Oklahoma, so there's, it's littered with meth heads. But anyway, just watching up on the beach there. But
I mean, after like Memorial Day weekend, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Or 4th of July. That's what I really meant.
Oklahomans are so dumb. But anyway, but like the lake was a good example because if you're out on a boat in the lake, you can't see down there.
Right.
There could be something there. You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know because you can't get down there. So, you could. Anyway, but it's truly, Jaws is truly, the shark. It kills without thought or emotion and mercy. So that already, it's just a killing machine in that movie. And so, like, that already fucks with you because it's like you can't reason with Jaws.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit down with tea. I think you should stop killing people, Jaws.
Right.
Don't tell me what to do. I have issues. I have to return some videotapes.
Anyway.
Fish are friends, not food.
A funny fact, the shark in that movie, Finding Nemo is named Bruce, and
Yes.
that's the name of the shark in Jaws. Like,
Oh, that's funny.
What the cast and crew gave.
Hi, Bruce.
Yeah. But Jaws is truly all our fears of what lurks beneath the surface as we bob in a large body of water come to life. I mean, that's what that thing plays off of. After Jaws made its splash in 1975, theater goers and the public were terrified to go into the ocean. Beach numbers
sure they
dwindled down. Yeah. This actually affected beachgoers. And after Jaws made its splash, it even had the unfortunate ramification of demonizing the great white shark, which may have contributed to hunts and stuff on it. Like people were killing it on sight. Now, all that aside, it obviously was a terrifying film that, while rated PG, would have been rated PG-13 today. You know, like I said, it was the 80s by the time PG-13 rolled around. But if sharks aren't doing it for you, like, I don't know, maybe that's not terrifying to you. You haven't seen the movie yet, but
I'm sorry, sharks are not terrifying to me because I heard some statistics about sharks and sharks killing people. You know, more cows kill people than sharks do every year.
Really?
Yes.
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
What's a cow do to you to kill you?
Trample you?
Oh, yeah, I guess a cow could kill. I was just thinking about this cow just
Have
laying
you ever
on
heard of bull riders?
Well, that's a bull.
Which is a cow.
No, a cow is a female.
But it's still a fucking cow.
No.
Yes.
No. I don't think so.
You know what the
think
fuck
it's a
I
bovine.
mean. I think you're a bovine. You know exactly what I fucking mean.
I am a cow. I just sit here and chew.
Uh,
But if sharks aren't doing it for you, let's get back on ghosts. The one thing that constantly terrifies everyone is the unknown. You know, like I said, the unknown is a very terrifying aspect in horror that can be used very effectively.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like, you're afraid of real life terrors. Well, what if our neighbor, who's pretty cool, he waves and stuff, keeps to himself, what if he's got 25 dead bodies piling up in his house?
We were just talking about this yesterday.
Yes, he's been murdering, and nobody knows.
I wonder if he murdered his wife's boyfriend.
Ooh.
Because I haven't seen his wife's boyfriend in a while.
That's true. But the fear of the unknown, and the unknown in this case of ghosts, is what lies on the other side of, for us when we die. Is there an afterlife?
Dun, dun, dun.
And if there is a chance our spirits can remain and hauntings are real, what happens when the wrong and evil spirits are left with us here? Such is the case for 2010's Insidious. Again, another flick. I don't think you have seen this. Right?
No.
But I think you can appreciate my words on it. Now, James Wan directed this story about a young boy who goes comatose and unwillingly allows evil spirits to cross over and haunt his family. Now, what this PG-13 horror film does right is it focuses on minuscule details that on their own are mainly just a bit eerie. You know,
right.
Like there's a scene where a boy, the mom goes outside and you start hearing Tiptoe Through the Tulips playing, and she walks by the window and she sees a little boy dancing in front of the record player, looked like he came from the 20s. Now that alone is kind of eerie.
Right.
Combine a ton of that in this movie, and you put all that together in succession, and it causes you to be plunged into dread and psychological terror for its entire runtime. This movie is a perfect example of how jump scares and these little weird scenes that are creepy can be combined together to create a really terrifying experience.
Kind of like The Sixth Sense.
Right. Oh, exactly like The Sixth Sense. Only
Right.
I think, how many jump scares does Sixth Sense have? I think it has a few.
A couple of them.
Yeah, it has a few, doesn't it? It kind of the same way, only increase that.
Right.
Take away that drama.
They just made it better.
Yeah. This one perfects it. And it's PG-13. There's no gore. There's no nudity. There's no sex in this movie.
You don't need it.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, we'd all love to see Patrick Wilson have sex, but
that's for a different movie.
Exactly. Now in fact, okay, here's another scene for you. The first frames of this film involve a long shot of the camera traveling through hallways of this house, going through rooms and stuff like that, until it reaches the end of the hallway, and we see up close an old woman in a black veil slowly open her eyes and spread her like dead face into a smile, and then boom, opening titles.
Oh.
And you're just like, oh fuck.
What's happening?
Yeah, it's that dread feeling, and I love that. That's what really gets me. Like that stuff is what I know will scare me.
Right.
You know. But the best thing about supernatural and ghosts in general, and PG-13 horror, does tend to focus on these elements, if you'll notice. A lot of these PG-13 horror movies are usually focused on the supernatural, ghosts and stuff. Lights Out is a good example, and I know everybody, that movie really didn't get a lot of love, but it's still it's an okay movie.
Right.
It's effective in its own way. A ghost doesn't have to gut someone on screen to get in your head and cause you to lose sleep. The very presence of them can cause your hair to stand on end.
Right.
Like, again, that unknown element. What if there's a ghost standing with you right now and you just can't see it?
Go away.
I don't know.
Oh, shit. Don't
What's
talk
this
to me
little
like
kid
that.
sleeping on our bed? Is he fucking channeling evil spirits and bringing them in here?
Probably.
So it works on a bunch of different levels. Are ghosts your thing? Like, what do you think about ghosts? Do those scare you at all? I know we said real horror scares you, but
Right. I don't know. Like, it has to be a really good suspenseful ghost movie for it to scare me.
I see what you mean. It has to be effective in what it's doing.
It has to be effective.
The Conjuring, I don't really consider that a ghost movie.
No.
Because it's more of a demon movie. I don't know. It has ghosts in it, I suppose.
I consider it a demon movie.
Yeah. But you get that. So I get what you're saying. So maybe ghosts aren't your thing, though, listener. How about the terror from the stars? What do you think about aliens? Does those scare you at all?
Oh, God, no.
No?
No.
Why? Now, I know we've talked about this before, but let's talk about it again because some people may not have went back and listened. But because we really talk about it, I believe, in that Thing episode, which we need to redo that.
We will redo it.
We will redo it. We've been asked to redo that episode. But why don't aliens scare you at all?
Because it's not real life enough for me. Do I believe that there's some kind of like life out there? Sure.
Okay.
Do I think they're smarter than us? Hopefully.
Hopefully. Just come take over our planet. It's fine.
Right.
I'll join you.
Would I be scared if I saw aliens and they were going to take me back to their planet? Well, fuck yeah. But there's so many different, like with vampires, you have a structure.
Okay.
With zombies, you kind of have a structure. I mean, like, there's different variants, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like with aliens, it's so extreme.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many different varying things.
Right.
Because it's something that we
don't know anything
Yeah.
about. Like, it's something that we've made up.
Right. Because, I mean, it's hard to imagine. And, of course, like, if you want to get into actual ufology, like, you could really, like, talk about the actual species that we think exist. And stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
But we're not doing that. But I see what you're saying. I mean, there's so many gleep-glops out there.
Right.
that,
There's
like,
just...
you know, you got Star Wars. It's got its own gleep-glops. Star Trek has its own gleep-glops. You have so many different variation of alien species.
Right.
That, you know.
So it's hard to believe that those are real things because we don't know what's real. But, like, it's just, there's so much of a disconnect because I'm like, what kind of fucking alien am I going to get today?
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. And sometimes they're not all evil. You know?
Right.
Sometimes
right.
they're not all Sigourney Weaver has to fight these things. You know, so I see what you're saying. That's why they're not, you know, it's kind of like you'll take it on a base by base.
Exactly. Exactly.
And this is coming, by the way, listeners, is coming from someone who hasn't seen the Alien movies. So she hasn't really seen Aliens. I don't think you've seen Aliens applied in besides The Thing, applied really like in terror, like in an actual effective horror movie.
I don't know that I would be scared.
Like I think
I don't know that I would like it.
I understand. I think when like From the Stars horror, or however you want to call it, sci-fi and stuff, I think it's more effective when it's in space. Like Alien, that first Alien movie, I think that movie's super It's very scary, and it's very effective because it takes place on a spaceship in the middle of space. And so there's nowhere to go except for on the spaceship.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
So, and you don't really see the alien through the entire thing, but it's stalking everybody and stuff. It's very scary. So I think that's that's when it's more effective, you know,
Right.
the horror in those. But you know, Terror from the Stars, you know, we're talking invaders from outside our planet, as we've foreshadowed here. Cloverfield, a POV film from J.J. Abrams, and okay, you gagged. What did you think about Cloverfield?
I think that it made me sick, and it was so fucking stupid.
Is it the point of view nature of it?
Yes.
Okay, I see what you mean. And that's okay. I'm not a big fan of point of view movies. I think we've talked about this, but it does have enough fear of the unknown and tense scenes of terror to have you hiding behind your hands at some points.
No.
No, okay. Now, some people do enjoy this movie and are scared by it. Come on now. Now, maybe the shaky cam isn't for you. Is that what you're...
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Well, there's also A Quiet Place. You know, John Krasinski's take on alien invasions. While I don't enjoy this movie and honestly just don't care for it, I have seen a lot of people's comments on how terrifying and the tension in the film truly is.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It does have a lot of very tense scenes.
I do like a tense movie.
Yeah, it does do pretty good. But then again, maybe you hate Jim from The Office and you want something else. How about Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Sure.
Okay, okay. I like that one.
I get it. And it's a black comedy at its roots, you know. And yes, it's a beloved laugh fest that we've covered on this episode. But Killer Clowns works on two levels when you really get to it. Invaders from space, aliens and stuff. And the fear of clowns,
right?
Which is a very big deal for some people. There are people who cannot watch Killer Clowns for the sheer reason that they're clowns, and all these PG-13 that we're talking about here.
Right.
Well, this is PG-13, and these do make money. These are popular. These are able to scare people. Now, in fact, I dare you not to be creeped the fuck out by the scene involving one clown in Killer Clowns using a hollowed out body of a police officer as a puppet. That is the scariest fucking scene I've ever seen. Oh my God.
I don't know about that. But...
I thought it was spooky. But that brings us here. You know, why the hate for PG-13 horror? And I know you haven't really experienced this because you're not really as plugged in as I am.
Right.
But there is a group of people, not every horror fan, but there is a lot of them that just hate PG-13 horror and they see it as a negative. You know, in horror film circles, you know, you have fans like me who love splatter films. And that's, again, my catch-all term for just really gory, over-the-top
right.
killing movies and stuff like that. We love our nudity and we love our gore. but that doesn't make a movie scary.
Right.
I don't think that makes a movie scary. Sure, gore can help a little bit. You know, I mean, show someone getting their head ripped off can get a reaction out of you. Maybe it's fright. I don't know. But when you look at films like Hatchet, which go above and beyond with the gore, it comes off as laughable. And yes, I'm aware that's the point of that movie. But the point is, we need to stop looking at the ratings when judging the effectiveness of horror.
Right.
Sure, with comic book movies, those can sometimes gain much more depth when they're allowed to cross into the R ratings. But horror doesn't need a rating to be scary. I
agree. I don't think so.
Here's an odd example. Now, you have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That movie really doesn't contain much nudity. In fact, at all, I think. No gore. No gore at all, because Tobe Hooper was setting out to try to get this rated PG to get to everybody.
Oh, right.
So that's what he set out to do. But the movie was so horrifying and so grotesque in its imagination that it received an R.
Right.
Like, it could not come out without an R. In fact, it bypassed R at the point. It bypassed PG, bypassed R, went right to NC-17 and had to be trimmed in a few spots.
Wow.
So yeah, like, at the time, that movie had not been seen before. That was a new thing. And, you know, that's really, I credit Tobe Hooper as giving us some modern day slasher villains and stuff like that. But that's beside the point. You know, you can't, you look at that R rating. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not gory, so you're not getting what you think you're going to get from that R rating.
Right.
So that in effect, you can't judge that film on that alone, you know. It's so funny because some people still to this day swear there's gore in that movie, but there's barely a drop of blood.
Right. That's because they leave it all to your imagination.
I don't know if that was on purpose because he was trying to go for PG.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
But he pulls off such an imaginative, just you will swear there is gore in that movie.
Right.
But let's, in my opinion, that was all my opinion, right? A lot of these are my opinions and stuff, and I value other people's opinions, and it's fine. Such as someone's dislike for John Carpenter's The Thing.
Hey, don't call me out like that, bro.
But here's just a few reasons I've heard from other people as to why PG-13 horror films suck, and we will discuss this, so feel free to interrupt. Now, number one, it hurts the genre. Now,
how?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, every time, no, it's okay. Now, every time a PG-13 horror movie crashes at the box office and fails, you always hear these people saying that it's going to kill horror films dead. That, oh, this is the end of horror films because they made a PG-13. I'm not making this up.
Oh, wow.
They made a PG-13 and it tanked, and now all the studios are going to see that, and they're not going to make any horror films. And
okay.
yeah, and I can cut that out right now because we just talked about like all these other movies. Most of the movies that we talk about on this show, some are PG-13 and they tank like a motherfucker.
Right.
Like a lot of the movies we've covered on this show don't do well at the box office, but they go on to do well later and they become cult hits. In their minds, though, in these people's minds, horror movies tanking makes it much harder for other legitimate horror films to get greenlit.
I don't believe that.
Well, exactly. Like, because, I mean, things tank and die all the time.
Right.
But their genres isn't dying. Like, action movies. There are so many shitty action movies.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly coming out.
Shitty comedy movies.
Yes,
like...
even more than horror. There are
yeah.
more shitty action movies and shitty dramas and shitty comedies coming out all the time. But those genres aren't going to die. Genre in itself cannot die. It's
right. It's
not
not going to.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That's like saying, oh, Pornhub took away amateur porn on their fucking website. That means no one's going to make porn. Like it's
right.
No, dude. But in today's age, that's really not how it works either. I mean, you have movies going straight to streaming, and much of our favorite horror films were direct to video at one point. Horror will never die based on a negative box office performance. Now back to The Thing. That movie failed at the box office it bombed like hell. But it's considered a true it's considered a true horror masterpiece to this day. You know, one of John Carpenter's best, up there with Halloween. And while not rated PG-13, it still proves that the box office doesn't sway a film's value in the end. So that we can say nay to. Number two, bad casts. Now, somewhere we all got the idea that PG-13 movies attract a lower tier of actors. This is an actual argument, people. I can see your face. Brittany's like, hang on, I've watched how many movies now? We've watched 88 movies together. And you're telling me that people are saying PG-13 movies have bad actors.
Right.
And that's the proper reaction to that. Because we're talking about a genre that is known for its shitty acting and known for its shitty writing. So how that could even be a fucking argument, I don't understand. Like, I get it. What people are getting at is that PG-13 horror movies tend to attract like your pop stars and stuff in your lower tiers, like, you know, little teeny boppers and stuff like that.
Right.
But to me, it's kind of, I don't know what you want. Because I don't know if you've seen some of these other movies, but they don't exactly have the best of acting. I mean,
I don't think that matters at all.
It doesn't. You can have a fantastic horror movie and have shitty acting.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it adds to the fun. Like, it doesn't matter. Maybe it kind of takes away from the horror a little bit, but even then, I don't know. I watched Ghoulies the other night. Holy shit. The only one who knows how to act in that movie is Jack Nance, and he doesn't really say a word in it. But like, when I was younger, ghoulies scared the fuck out of me. Like, so, like, I can't really say that acting might take away from the horror. Who knows? Again, it's subjective, you know. Okay. Number 3, and this is a big one. Number 3, no nudity. Where's the TNA?
Dun, dun, dun.
Where's my jiggly boobs? And much more important, where is my beaver rape scene? And if you know the film Evil Ed, you'll get that reference. So yes, there is a lack of nudity in a horror film when it's rated PG-13, but really the only horror films that get a boost from breasts and sex are your typical slasher films.
Right.
You know, and those aren't that scary in the first place. Fun, yes, but a truly terrifying slasher comes every so often. It's not every single one of them. What's a slasher that kind of scared you that we've covered?
Oh my God, this is so fucking stupid. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Like one of those comes every so often that'll really scare you, you know, like
right.
I'm trying to think of one that's come out recently that's been scary. I can't think of it. I think slashers. I think slashers in general have gotten so
mainstream.
Like, yeah, that I don't know if you can create a scary slasher. That 2018 Halloween kind of came close, almost, but even that's tired. You know, like,
right.
I feel like that stuff is tired, and now you're just looking for fun. So again, nudity, it does nothing for horror. Like, I guess if you're scared about being nude, or like if the vulnerability of that kind of freaks you out, maybe right. That could help. But I don't understand that argument.
I don't either.
Just watch porn if you want to see nude people that bad. Come on now, it's available everywhere.
I mean, I like nude people in my movies, but it's not necessary to make it a good movie or a bad movie.
Yeah, it's strictly an aesthetic.
Right.
Like, it's just like, ooh, boobies.
Right.
We got into a whole rabbit hole the other day after watching Piranha and started looking up 70s and 80s boobs. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, because it wasn't just the boobs.
Yes, and Brittany finally understands my affinity for 70s and 80s breasts. Maybe some 90s too. But
or just breasts.
They're just different. I don't know.
They're just different.
Yeah, Brittany has 70s boobs.
Hey,
I like them.
Hey, stop it. They don't need to know what my boobs are like.
Anyway.
So, you don't have to talk about my boobs to make this a better movie.
You're right. You are correct. Okay, so in the end, my opinion is PG-13 horror doesn't suck.
Right.
The ratings do. A PG-13 movie is bound to get more of an audience than an R-rated film, so directors tend to try to gravitate toward PG-13 to try to get a wider audience. So what I'm saying is this is all about money. Like, a lot of this is about your money. Yeah,
of course it is.
So, and in a perfect world, we could do without that rating system, and it wouldn't be about money. It'd be about the art. But that's never going to happen.
No, it's
because
not.
We have a bunch of fucking old people sitting up at a desk watching these movies and coming down on them hard because, oh no, 2 girls kissed.
Oh no.
That's an R rating. But
and we saw a side boob.
Oh dear Lord, not the side boob. What's wrong with just 1 rating? You know, maybe we could just have 1 rating. Like if your kid probably should. I mean, in reality, it's all common sense to begin with. I mean, your kid probably shouldn't be seeing Reagan rape herself with a crucifix.
Right.
So, and you could cut all this out by just maybe filtering what your kids watch. Watch it first.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with that? Why do you got to go by...
and go by the maturity level of your child.
Exactly.
We have 4 children,
different.
and they all, you know, they're all different ages, obviously.
Right, right.
But they all have different maturity levels, not just because of their ages, but because of who they are as people.
Right.
Because they're still people.
And I mean, in common sense, back to that, it should tell you that a movie like Hellraiser probably isn't the best thing to sit your kids in front of.
Right.
Do you really need that R rating to tell you that?
No.
First off, film ratings are in reality part of a lazy measure that we as a society use constantly. We have to label things as inappropriate when we could just maybe check it out. But yeah, it's an archaic form of protecting society from the horrors of sex and fake violence, and protecting your nana from maybe seeing that women might actually enjoy sex outside of marriage. Oh, no. Oh, no.
What are we going to do?
Oh, no. In the end, I mean, here's something to ponder. Maybe slapping labels on not so much the violence, but the sex has made sex such a dirty and not normal thing in our society that we've all become fucking weirdos.
Oh, I agree.
Everybody is so, well, not everybody. I mean, shit, I'm not, but a lot of people are very ashamed of their sexuality. And it's kind of weird. It's a weird disconnect we all have. And I'm not blaming it all on this, but maybe. I mean, maybe if we saw sex normalized in some of this shit.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe we wouldn't be so fucking weird. Maybe your uncle wouldn't be scared that gay people are going to have sex out in the streets.
Right.
I don't.
You know, it's so bad for girls even. And I'm realizing now that our daughter is going through puberty, women are so... they're not allowed to be sexual creatures at all or anything like that, to the point that mothers are not teaching their daughters how to properly insert tampons. And I know that sounds really weird, but they're not showing them because they think it's almost sexual.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's for safety. How about we safely do this? And if you don't want your daughters to wear tampons, then you're doing it wrong because they're going to find some fucking tampons and shove them in their pussy. They're not going to know how to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, do it
right.
right.
Properly do things. And
right.
That's the weird
like,
disconnect.
why are we censoring these things? Everything.
Yeah, why are we censoring to women having consensual sex?
Right.
But not censoring the rape. We can have as much of brutal rape as we want. But those women having sex, though. A more appropriate rating system, but still flawed, I think, is the UK film ratings. They more rely on ages to let you know what may or may not be appropriate for what age. You know, starting with U for universal for all ages. Then you go to 12, 15, and, of course, 18. And then over there, R18 is a separate thing. And it kind of relies on what Ebert wanted. You know, it's R18 is solely for pornography, and you have to be an established, licensed place to sell this.
Oh, wow.
R18, so it's just for porn.
Wow.
So they have a separate thing for porn and for your 18, you know, or their NC-17 is 18. But even that system has its flawed. Okay, so now that we're near in the end, and I hope everybody appreciated this nice little edutainment.
Edutainment.
But what's your thoughts on all this?
Stop censoring my fucking movies. Let me be the judge of what my children can watch.
Well, especially when we all gravitate towards buying uncut versions anyway.
Right.
I mean, which one are you?
I mean, you do.
Well, yeah, but which movie are you more likely to buy? Like, if you see a movie that says uncut and then the other one is just normal, I mean, okay, what am I not seeing? I want to see the things I'm not seeing.
Well, I don't know because it's got a lot of Karens in the world.
Oh, God. Asking to see the fucking manager at the video store. I can just hear it now.
You have a movie with a butt on it.
There's an ass in this movie.
My child might see this.
Oh, my God. I'm just going to let you parents out there know your child is going to see porn. There is no stopping it. They are going to, especially nowadays with the internet. Oh, fuck. They're going to see some rough ass shit. But it's not everyone else's job to censor that for you.
Right.
It's your job to do what you're fucking supposed to do and be a goddamn parent.
Oh, my God. It pisses me off. So everybody knows I love TikTok. So a lot of creators on TikTok have gone on and said, and I totally agree with them, TikTok is not just a children's app. You have to be 13 to join TikTok.
Okay.
I mean, there's obviously younger kids. It happens, right? But it's not their job as content creators to censor their content because you're not watching your fucking kid.
I understand.
Because parents will go on and bitch at these content creators for the content they put out, but they're not censoring what their kids are watching.
I mean, and when you think about it, when you think about it, like that would be the same as if me calling up Pornhub because our daughter found porn and watched it and yelling at them for not
Exactly.
censoring the porn on their service.
Exactly.
Like that is no one's fault
Right.
but your own.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. And I get it. You know, life gets busy. You tend to just kind of ignore things and great. But you could just sit your kid down and talk about them with what they saw.
Right.
You know, you could have a discussion, maybe discuss things. As a society, we've grown so far away from discussion that it's not even funny.
Oh yeah, because it's I'm the parent, you're the child. You listen to me. I know better than you. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's like, but why? And a lot of these kids, that's where they're at now. They're asking why because now they're not. I mean, you're not able to just have a kid and send them to work on the farm.
Right.
They have access to all sorts of stuff.
Right.
So like that's the thing. Maybe treat your kid as a normal human being instead of the sheltered weirdo that's going to grow up and touch a boob like and freak the fuck out. Like, I don't know.
Like Forrest Gump.
I'm sorry I ruined your roommate's robe. But, you know, and on the other side of it, PG-13 horror is just fine.
Yes.
Just because a PG horror movie comes out and it's rated PG-13 is not a moniker that it's going to suck. I know plenty of R-rated movies that's come out recently that suck ass. Bad horror movies have been coming out recently. And not good bad, like just bad.
It's just bad,
It's
bad.
just a terrible movie. So R rating, PG-13 rating, fuck, it doesn't matter. Just watch the movie and make your opinions on your own, not by what a rating says.
Da, da, da.
Da, da, da. So at the end here, I would like to read, we're going to do a little fan mail on this.
Fan mail.
Fan mail, that's right. And we only got one letter this time because I kind of put out the news a little too late for everybody to get their stuff in, so that's fine. But we got some fan mail in today from Trucker Jerry. And here we go. So this is Trucker Jerry's own words, everybody. Long-time listener here. Trucker Jerry. Okay. Longtime listeners know that I have been a faithful fan from the beginning. He really has. One of the first fans we got on here. Noth has grown in so many ways since the early days. I feel that Brittany can no longer say she hasn't seen everything. She has even started picking up on cinematography and noticing interesting camera angles and techniques, which actually that does excite me when you do that now.
Ugh,
I get so excited. Lee, I still love the tasteless sense of humor, dick jokes. Oh, those are never going to stop. That you bring to the table, as well as your ability to seemingly at the drop of a hat throw in interesting trivia about any horror movie. In short, I am a diehard horrorphile. If for some reason you decide to end the show, I will cry and then go back and listen to the episodes all over again. I believe that Brittany might change her mind about John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh,
I think so
I
too.
might.
We are gonna have to redo that episode. You guys should totally do a Thing review episode and see if Brittany's tastes have changed 80 some odd movies later. All in all, I love Noth. Keep up the great, outstanding work. Trucker Jerry, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for the nice letter. That was great. That was great. And if you guys out there, if you want to write in your own letters, you can write in comments about the show, hate mail, write your own stories, any story, like anything related to horror movies. Like, did you have to sneak into a movie when you were a kid? Tell me that story. Tell us all those stories that you have out there. We'll read them on the air every time we do a casual horror episode. Next up, though, it's time to thank the patrons. We actually have paying people. I am I'm very surprised. I did not account for that. Did you think we'd ever have people actually paying to listen to us?
God, no.
Yeah. And because for the longest time people were asking us, I want to contribute to the show. How do I donate? How do I give you, help support the show? And besides just your normal support, besides that, the Patreon is a great way to do that because, as I've always said, I don't want people just throwing money at us for nothing.
Right.
I like people to have something to look at. So, okay, let's go ahead and thank the Patreons here. We're going to thank Jose, Zool, William Bryan Jr., Christina Arntz. We've talked about Christina's show on the podcast before. She's great. Go check her out on YouTube. CCR, aka Breakmang. I don't know why I like that name so fucking much. Then we got Jerry, Trucker Jerry, of course. Seth Vermaiden, Kurt, and Jason. All these people are longtime supporters of the show. Great people. And, again, it brings a tear to my eye because I never thought people would actually want to pay for this stuff and actually want to contribute to the show in this way. And if you want to contribute to the show, you can go to patreon.com/NOTHP. That's patreon.com/NOTHP. And if you don't have the funds or anything like that, it's understandable during the COVID times. All you got to do is just share, rate and review the show, share it with your loved ones. Maybe not your Nana. I don't know how she'll react to the dick jokes, but that's all you got to do there. That shows that. In fact, that's even better. Like, get the word out about this.
But thank you to our Patreons.
Yes, thank you so much, Patreons. So moving on. Let's talk about the Patreon schedule this month. Now, for $5 a month, and this is eventually we'll have more tiers and more things and goodies and stuff like that. But for now, on February 17th, the Campbell Hour, episode 2. Now, that's the Campbell Hour is our hour-long episode covering all things Bruce Campbell. And what we do is we take an episode from a TV series
that Bruce Campbell
was in, and we talk about it. Right now, we're going through all the episodes of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and I believe that's episode 5 we're on that episode. Yeah, so we're covering that. Then on February 19th, Damn Fine Peaks comes and drops some coffee into our laps. That sounds terrible. With episode 2 of that show. Now, Damn Fine Peaks obviously covers, it's a Twin Peaks retrospective. Now, Twin Peaks, everybody knows, only has 3 seasons, and some of them are kind of short. Right. So once we hit the end of that, we're still going to talk David Lynch. We're actually probably going to cover maybe a David Lynch movie, maybe some of his other projects, TV shows, or what have you. It's going to be great. Maybe we'll just have discussions about David Lynch. Who fucking knows? We're going to have fun on that show. Now, on February 26th, we're bringing back Syncable Commentaries, and with that one, we're going to be covering A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. That's right, the remake, the dreaded, burnt, crispy-looking Freddy Krueger.
Burnt, crispy?
He's not even burnt in that movie. He looks like a cheese pizza combined with a Tim Burton character. It's delicious. The stupidest thing ever. Anyway, but yeah, we're gonna be yucking through that. Now, what those Syncable Commentaries are what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to pop that into your ear and watch the movie with us. It's syncable to the movie. So it's kind of like having us in your living room. Only, you probably don't want to do that because we're a little weird. But
we're weird and Lee farts a lot.
Weird, and I fart a lot. But if you ever wanted to watch a movie, that's kind of how you can do it. And I've heard some people actually listen to those without the movie. They'll actually just listen to it.
Oh, that's weird.
More power to
pauses.
you. Yeah, more power to you. But anyway, so that's the Patreon this week. But let's talk about, we're going back to the movies next week. And, it's Black History Month. And I wanted to do something special for that. I wanted to talk about a black horror movie. But you sure I could do a whole month? But I don't know. We're two white people. And I know we don't have. It's just it wouldn't feel right. Let's just leave it at that. It wouldn't feel right. But we're gonna pay tribute with Candyman starring Tony Todd. That's right, the original Candyman. We're gonna talk about Cabrini Green and just all sorts of great history in that movie and stuff like that, and just a fantastic performance from Tony Todd. So that's probably going to be an epic long episode. Like, we do these epic long episodes, I think once a month now. We do these long ass episodes. So that one's going to be fun. So that's next week. But until then, I'm Lee Evans saying, don't judge a movie on its fucking rating. Stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.